Alright, what's up? Young Breezy 821. People are filing in. Impact Wrestling AEW, what's up? So, Sydney Eubanks, I'm assuming I got that right. Melissa Hernandez, what's up? So I have my laptop here so I can read comments better. JJX Division, what's up? Joshy Bear. So, basically, I want to give a lot of people the chance here to talk about Chris Benoit and really be able to give their opinions, because it's one of those things that's become really kind of taboo now, where you're not allowed to say he's innocent, you're not allowed to say it's a conspiracy, his death, or you're just not allowed to talk about his career, period. So, I want this to be the place where people can go, give their opinions, give their, I guess, their own theories. And 2004 Punk, what's up? We have AJ Styles in the house. Joshy Bear asks, what is your favorite Chris Benoit moment? Mine was Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit hugging. That's actually mine as well. That's actually one of my favorite moments in wrestling, period. And if you want to see more live streams like this, be sure to drop a like. And, let me know if you want to see more like this. Tyler Hodder, best Benoit moment was winning the World Heavyweight Championship. I agree. And AJ Styles, I believe Chris Benoit is innocent. And then Sydney says, Benoit was a great wrestler, but as to what he did was unacceptable. And something I want to hear from you guys is, where were you when you heard the news? I remember I was right here. I was about to watch Raw in 2007. And I remember because it was supposed to be the Vince McMahon funeral special. I know Stone Cold was supposed to appear. A bunch of other wrestlers were supposed to appear. And I remember because Vince McMahon was supposed to be dead at the time. The limo explosion happened, I believe, 2 weeks before. So I remember turning on Raw, seeing the empty arena, and then you have Vince McMahon standing in the middle of the ring. And that's how I found out. I wasn't big on the internet back then, so that's how I found out. Okay, Young Breezy asks, if Benoit had lived and not done what he did, who do you think would have been his opponent at WrestleMania 24? I don't know. I think obviously I think he would have been involved with the ECW Championship somehow. So, he could have faced, I don't think it would have been Kane, or it might have been Chavo, who knows, but probably Benoit, maybe Johnny Nitro, maybe even CM Punk again. So, who knows. How did you get Hard Knocks signed? I bought it off of a private collector. And it is real. It's one of those things where I wasn't going to get it until I knew it was real. So it was a process. I've been wanting a Benoit autograph for a really long time. So, I finally was able to get one. Okay. Benoit should have won the WWF Championship in 2000. Yeah. It kind of worked, though, because WrestleMania 20, you had this big build-up. It's almost like Daniel Bryan. It's very comparison to Daniel Bryan winning at WrestleMania 30, where, a lot of people, they were cheering on for him. He never won the world title, and then he was this underdog story. And for someone else that asked, what is my favorite Benoit match? Mine is Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle, Royal Rumble 2003. What's up, Cameron Barry? We have Chris Benoit fan 2017 in here, so that's good. Gotta have that. GTS Maniac. We got a GTS wrestling fan in here. I actually met Grimm at SummerSlam. And Young Breezy said, did you know he would have died 10 months later anyway due to his heart condition? Yeah, that's actually a little known fact. He was actually pretty much on the brink of death anyway. I heard it was less than. I heard it was only a few months away because his heart was basically about to give, and you could contribute that to many things: various drugs, steroids, just abuse on your body. Ruthless Aggression guy. I miss Chris Benoit as I've been watching WWE for a year in the Ruthless Aggression era, and he is the one I was the most interested in. Yeah, I was a huge Benoit fan. Benoit is at times very reckless in the ring with those diving headbutts off the top rope. I'll never forget his announce table spot. I think he was facing Booker T, and that one's hard to watch. He did a suicide dive out of the ring and just completely wiped out on the announce table. That was a bad one. Who's your favorite on GTS? I don't really watch GTS, but I know of it. I prefer more of the vlogs than the actual GTS wrestling, personally. Favorite and least favorite Benoit matches? I don't know if I have a least favorite, to be honest. I mean, my favorite, like I said, is Kurt Angle in 2003. So, least favorite? I don't know. I don't know if I have one, to be honest. Young Breezy says he wishes Undertaker and him could have had a feud. Yeah, that I assume eventually he would have been part of the streak. I'd like to guess that personally, if he wouldn't have died. If Chris Benoit was still alive, would he still be wrestling? I highly doubt that. No, he was getting up there in age. His health wasn't the best at the time. So no, I think he was pretty close to retiring. He was already on his way out. That's why he was in ECW, his final year in wrestling. It's because they wanted him to take a more mentor role, and they wanted him to basically help the younger talent. I think if he was still around, he'd probably be a coach, or maybe he'd be involved in NXT in some shape or form. And JJX division, what about Guerrero? I think Eddie Guerrero, if he wouldn't have died, none of this would have happened. Same with Grunge. I don't. And if you ever get a chance, listen to the Chris Jericho podcast that Nancy Benoit's sister did. That is probably the best wrestling podcast I've ever listened to. It reveals a lot about his final months of life, his relationship with Nancy, just a lot of different things. I think they did it for the 10th anniversary in 2017. So definitely, if you get a chance, listen to that. And his rivalry with Kevin Sullivan in WCW was crazy. Yeah, Kevin Sullivan basically booked his own divorce. That's kind of the running gag here. But, you know, I guess the big question I have for all of you, I have my own opinions on what happened. But my question for all of you, what are your thoughts on the Kevin Sullivan conspiracy? Because that is a very long, drawn-out conspiracy that a lot of people do believe in. And then, if Eddie didn't die, would he have left for TNA in 2008 because of the PG era? I don't think they would have went PG if that would have. I think they would have went PG eventually, just not in 2008. I legitimately think Chris Benoit changed the industry and the whole company just as it was. I don't think if that would have happened, they would have went PG in August of 2008. Now, there was other contributing factors. You know, you had Linda McMahon going to, of course, she was running for Senate, so you have that. You have advertisers. I think it would have been PG, but not as PG. Because obviously, we don't have chair shots to the head anymore directly because of what happened. And just little stuff like that, maybe higher wellness testing and just all that. What's up, Jimmy? We got the AEW profile picture there. JJX Division, PG was way more enjoyable than what's on today. Yeah, I never thought I'd say that, but I actually probably agree with that. Do you think Benoit should go into the Hall of Fame? Career-wise, yes, but he never will. I would be absolutely shocked if he went in the Hall of Fame. I don't think he ever will. Joshy Bear, now if he was alive, if he was wrestling, I'd love to see him fight Styles or Ricochet. You know, him and AJ Styles would be phenomenal. No pun intended. But Y2 Jeopardy Games, what's up? He should have had a better world title run. I mean, he held it from WrestleMania to SummerSlam. So I don't think it was bad. He just didn't quite draw like they wanted him to. And, you know, eventually you do have to drop the title. He held it longer than a lot of people probably would have guessed. We have Evil Nerd in the stream. There we go. Now it'll be fun. Do you prefer his ECW run or his WWE run? Probably early WWE run. You know, somewhere around the early 2000s is my favorite. Like I said, like 2003, 2002. And then we have Meep God, what's up? GTS Maniac thinks he was killed. Do you think it's in any possible we could eventually find out if it was Kevin Sullivan? I don't think we'll ever know 100% what happened that weekend. Personally, for me, it's like 60-40. 60% that he is guilty, and then 40% that it was something else. But I don't quite believe it was Kevin Sullivan. Something very interesting, though. Hornswoggle. He did a shoot interview, I think for You Shoot, or Kayfabe Commentaries or something like that, where he 100% believes he was killed. And that's a very interesting segment to listen to if you haven't. But, I mean, there's really no way. I think it's kind of too late to do DNA testing, obviously. And I feel like maybe you could do something with the beer cans. You could probably take saliva testing. But, hey, because, you know, there were a lot of beer cans surrounding kind of the property around where he died in the gym and everything. But there was no alcohol in his system. So it makes you wonder. A lot of things don't add up. But at the same time, do you take that as evidence or do you take that as speculation? Chris Benoit versus CM Punk, a match I wish I could have seen. Oh, hell yeah. I would have killed to see a CM Punk Chris Benoit match. Being they're my two favorite wrestlers, or two of them. So, what's the interview called? Just look up Hornswoggle on the death of Chris Benoit. It's pretty well known. It's pretty widely out there. Just on YouTube. Do you think it would be cool if Benoit went to Ring of Honor? I'm not the biggest Ring of Honor fan, to be honest. So, I don't know. I don't think it would have affected me. But, you know, there's obviously more talent to be seen in Ring of Honor. You could have had Bryan Danielson. That would have been amazing. The American Dragon versus Chris Benoit. Come on. And then we have a $2 Super Chat. Super Chats, I very much appreciate them. So we have KillsCam0714. Do you think Eddie's death set him off? I think it contributed, I can't talk, wow. Contributed very heavily to his death. If that would not have happened, I don't think Benoit would have died that weekend. In whatever way you want to say he died. You know, I think he was his rock. They were best friends. You know, there's a reason why WrestleMania 20 is so special to me. Just seeing them embrace after having those world titles. It's amazing to see that. And, you know, Benoit had other friends die, like Johnny Grunge and everything. So I think it's definitely a contributing factor. I think Eddie could have helped him if Chris was going through bad times. And he did help him in a lot of ways. And Nancy's sister actually said that Nancy had gotten Chris notebooks over the last few months of his life where he wrote to Eddie, obviously after Eddie died, but it's a coping mechanism. Chris literally wrote in these notebooks as if he were writing to Eddie, just about everyday life and, just various things, wrestling, you know, just personal stuff. So I think that's a really cool touch. There's a lot about in that podcast that you'll really learn about Chris. Daniel Bryan uses some of Chris Benoit's moves. Yeah, he does. He uses the crossface, and he also does the diving headbutt. So, yeah, it's definitely very interesting. And they both won the world title at WrestleMania 20 and 30 in a triple threat main event. So it's very interesting the comparisons here. And then, what's your favorite Chris Benoit match? Earlier, I think this is one I'll stick with. Him and Kurt Angle, Royal Rumble 2003. I think that's probably his best match too, at least in the WWE. Because he was all over the place. He was in Japan, he was ECW, he was everywhere. Benoit versus Angle in TNA would have been cool. Yeah, that would have been, because I don't think Benoit would have ever left WWE. Because I don't think he had much in his career left anyway. So, I do believe it would have been cool, though, to see just them renew that rivalry, let's say, 5 or 6 years after it. BITW. Man, this guy's situation has me shaking my head. I really don't think he did it. And then Benoit versus Owen Hart tribute match was great. Spider Hunter, if he didn't die over that weekend, do you think he would have died a few years later? Yeah, he was pretty close to death. The autopsy showed that his heart was about to pretty much implode onto itself. Probably in a similar way that Eddie died, unfortunately. See, he didn't have much time left in terms of a career or a life. So, at least we can be thankful that we at least saw pretty much the entirety of his career. 90% of his career. And then AJ Styles, Angle, and Benoit Rumble 2003 is a 10 out of 10 for me. I would give that match 5 stars. And it's rare that I give a match 5 stars. Okay, Nick D. I got lucky to meet him before he left WCW. That's pretty cool. And he was very quiet. Yeah, there's a lot of stories. He was very quiet, but I've never heard a bad story of someone meeting him. He was always very respectful and grateful to his fans. Thomas, WWE fan, what's up? Why was The Undertaker on Raw yesterday? That's called desperation for ratings. That's what that is. Vinny's channel, my favorite Chris Benoit match was Eddie versus Chris at One Night Stand 2005. That match could have been so much better because I know Eddie was very frustrated during that match. So it's definitely cool to see that match. I would have personally loved to see Eddie and Benoit at WrestleMania 21. I think that would have been amazing. But unfortunately it didn't happen. If Benoit was still alive, what year would he have died? The projections, just from a medical level, probably somewhere within the next 6 to 12 months. Is that DVD autograph you got behind you in the background? Yes, it is. That's my prized possession in my whole collection. CM Punk versus Chris would have been great and historic. Yeah, I was looking forward to that match. Do you watch JD? Which JD? So, probably not then. I don't know what that is. It's funny how WWE don't show the 2004 Rumble in anything. They don't show... we got the Money in the Bank DVD, the Anthology DVD, so, I thought that was progress. I don't think they'll ever embrace him ever again. But I think you can at least, you know, show some of his matches, even mention his name if you want to. I understand why they don't. But my question to you guys, do you think WWE should still be blocking him out and basically rewriting history when it comes to his name? 3 Abu 2003, do you think it was a murder? I don't know. I just don't know. I lean towards no, but it's one of those things where there's a lot going against it, and a lot of his peers and friends are really hardcore that he didn't do it, and some of that could be denial. I mean, they're his friends. You're not going to want to think that your best friend killed his family. You're not going to want to think that. If he was ever found innocent, would he go in the Hall of Fame? That's a good question. I actually think yes. I think it would take some time. I don't think they'd do it right away. Like, let's say he was found innocent tomorrow. I don't think he'd go in the Hall of Fame next year, but maybe eventually. Or, you know how they do, like, the legacy inductees? They did it with, like, Bruiser Brody and stuff this year. I think they would do it that way. So you could basically have him in there without having him in there, basically. Do you think he should have been inducted in the 2008 Hall of Fame? I mean, I think he deserves it, but like I said, from what we see when it comes to them blocking him out and, you know, basically rewriting history, he'll never be in the Hall of Fame. And I think a lot of the talent would be uncomfortable if he was put in the Hall of Fame. And Nancy's family, and you have to look at the victims. A lot of people were affected by this, and they probably wouldn't want him going in the Hall of Fame. Okay. Donnie Langston, WWE should at least recognize him for what he did. That I do agree with. Not necessarily Hall of Fame, but I think he can be mentioned. Were you surprised when he was featured in the WWE Network? Was he featured? What do you mean by featured? Like, I know he's included. I mean, you kind of have to include. He's been in hundreds of matches, I'm sure, on the network. So you're going to have to include him to some degree. You know, they're not going to blur out his face. I don't know if they edited, like, entrances or anything. I don't have the network. I did at one point, but I didn't really research Benoit on the network. Poor Nancy, she should be in the Hall of Fame. Greatest WCW manager of all time. Fun fact, Nancy's sister, I actually tweeted at her a few weeks ago, and she told me she's writing a book. She responded to my tweet that I sent her, and that she's writing a book about Nancy's life and career, so that's really cool. She definitely deserves recognition. Nancy Benoit is a hugely underrated aspect in the wrestling industry. Nick D, he is in the WWE 50 book. He actually is, yeah. I actually have that up there somewhere. But, yeah, he is actually mentioned in that book. And that's released by WWE themselves, obviously. Do you think Jimmy Snuka should be blocked? I'm not a big Snuka fan, but, I mean, I think you should be able to separate career and what happens in life from a personal aspect. I personally don't, like I said, don't like Jimmy Snuka for what happened, but it is what it is. I mean, he's in the Hall of Fame. He's not going anywhere in terms of legacy, but I'm not a fan of him. If he was still alive now, would you think WWE would book him? I think he would be a trainer because he was up there in age, so I think maybe he could be an agent. He could do production work. He could be with NXT, you know, helping them. So I think he would be involved to some degree. Okay, kind of behind on. We're getting a lot of comments here. So at least we got a DVD before he died. Yeah, that's true. If Undertaker or John Cena did something like that, do you think they'd get the same treatment? I mean, you'd have to. You can't be hypocritical about it. I mean, Like, let's say John Cena were to just snap, go into a fucking school and just start shooting everybody, then yeah, he'd probably be blocked forever. I mean, let's be honest. General Womble 05, what's up? Okay. Let's see. Do you think WWE would become better or worse? I think the current product will be determined by how good AEW does. If AEW is successful, it will promote a better product from both brands. And I think Vince he's trying, but he's failing. He's actually seeing that there's a problem, at least. Who would win a match between Benoit and Moxley? I would love to see that. I mean, probably Moxley, if you want to put him over. Because Benoit, he was at the end of his career, and he was starting to put people over and trying to really make the industry a better place. Unrelated, why isn't Owen Hart in the Hall of Fame? Because of his wife. She basically won't let him be inducted in the Hall of Fame. And just ignore the dogs in the background. I don't know what they're barking at, but we have WWE should release more Blu-ray releases. Yeah, they should, but I think that's kind of past at this point. I think Benoit deserved a better match at WrestleMania 23. Yeah, probably. I mean, I liked MVP. I really did like MVP. So, I think that would have been nice to see. Like I said, I wanted to see Benoit and Eddie at WrestleMania at some point. I think that's my kind of dream match that I never really got. I mean, we got Eddie and Benoit before, but I would like to see it on a much bigger scale. Okay, what did Jimmy Snuka do? He killed I think it was just his girlfriend, it wasn't his wife. Basically, they got in a domestic dispute, she hit her head, and she died, but it's very convoluted. Did you like his match with JBL at WrestleMania? Not really. I'm not a big JBL fan, though, so... AJ Styles says, Benoit's theme always sends chills up my spine. I agree. I love his theme. He always had a consistently great entrance. You know, his entrance was simple, and his theme was simple, but it was him, you know? He just walked to the ring, but he had a presence to be felt. So, you know, I loved his entrance. Zack Ryder versus Chris Benoit in an Extreme Rules match would have been awesome. You know it. Okay. Who would have inducted Chris Benoit in the Hall of Fame? I mean, Eddie, if he were alive, but you could do, I don't know. Kurt Angle, maybe? I think Kurt Angle could have. Did he actually sign that DVD? Yes. I have proof that it's real. I bought it from a private collector, and I don't buy my autographs unless I actually know they're real. So, I got proof from the buyer. And I actually accidentally got a CM Punk autograph inside it as well, that he sent me by accident. So yeah, I have that now too. Okay. What if he was alive this whole time and he just wanted to live his life outside of wrestling? Yeah, this isn't some Tupac thing. I mean, if he faked his own death, he wouldn't have taken his family with him, obviously. The only way Benoit would go in the Hall of Fame is if he's in a group. I don't think he would even go in the Hall of Fame. Let's say he was part of a big stable. I don't think they would induct him. I don't think he'd be in the Hall of Fame no matter what at this point. Do you own any Tag Classic DVDs? No, I do not. There's a video of Benoit on Raw saying something along the lines of Monday night, my wife and my son will be not watching Raw, for I will do something so horrible. Oh, I remember that line. Yeah, I think that's coincidence. That was part of a promo. I don't really think. I remember it wasn't exactly that, but I think that was coincidence. And probably somewhat edited, to be honest. Chris Jericho should induct him in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, I forgot. Chris Jericho could too. I think Chris Jericho, Kurt Angle. Yeah, they could have. Is Tupac really still alive? I don't believe Tupac's alive. No, I think he's dead. And I'm a big conspiracy guy, so for me to say that, I think Tupac's dead. But yeah, Tupac's in Cuba. Okay. What about Elvis? I believe Elvis died as well. Hitler, on the other hand, did not. But that's a yeah. Okay, how rare is the Eddie Guerrero tribute DVD? They're both insanely rare, to be honest. I only have one. I'm not able to find the SmackDown one. I have the Raw one. It's just so hard to uh, find, and it's like $150 half the time. I got mine for $10, but that's because I found a collector who didn't know what he was selling, basically. So yeah. Will you buy the Global Warming Tour DVD? I already have it. I have all the pay-per-views that were released in America. Okay. Yeah, the Eddie Guerrero tribute DVDs, one came in a tin at Best Buy and then one came at FYE. And they're insanely hard to find. I haven't checked eBay in a while. Maybe I'll check that again. Vader should be in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, I agree. And it's bullshit that they didn't do it while he was still alive. Okay. Vicky Guerrero would have inducted Nancy. I had a question earlier about Kevin Sullivan being mentioned in WWE. Why he's not mentioned or something like that. It's because he was never in big affiliation with WWE. So, I mean, when it comes to Kevin Sullivan, he's been pretty far from Vince. Which conspiracy theories do you believe in? It's too long to list, honestly. Okay, kill a camo. Here we go. I think he killed his wife by accident in a dispute, and his son was premeditated because of his wife. He didn't want to go to jail, so he took his own life. I mean, my opinion, if I had to make a bet on this, like I said, I'm like 60-40 when it comes to if I think he's guilty or innocent. If I were to bet on it, I would say he was in a dispute with his wife, just beat the living hell out of her, out of anger, and she died. And then I think with his son Daniel, I think that was a mercy kill. He wouldn't want his son living in a world where his parents are dead. So, I think he killed Daniel because of that, and then he killed himself. That's if I had to bet on it, I'm not confident on that, but if I had to bet on it, that's what I'd say. Is Kevin Sullivan still alive? Yes, he is. And Spider Hunter asks, what about the fact that Wikipedia had Nancy's death? I don't know if many people know about this one, but basically hours before the bodies were found, I think it was 12 hours before anyone knew any of them were dead, someone on Wikipedia had edited in that Nancy was dead, and it came from Hartford, Connecticut. So, basically what happened, this was kind of debunked, but I think some people won't subscribe to that theory, and that's fine. Basically, it was a teenager, and he had heard rumors, so he'd basically jumped the gun and posted it on Wikipedia. Is that the truth? I don't know. He was interrogated by the cops. He was very cooperative because they were able to track the IP, which came from Harvard, coincidentally. So I don't know about the Wikipedia entry. I think it probably was just a mistake. Who knows? Did the teenager get arrested? No. He was just questioned. Is Scientology a cult? Technically, all religion's a cult, if you think about it. So, favorite Benoit moment, him and Eddie at WrestleMania 20. Where are their cell phones? I think it's a huge piece of the puzzle. Well, Benoit had sent text messages to Scott Armstrong and Chavo Guerrero from him and Nancy's phone at like 4 a.m. Before he killed himself. He said the dogs were in the garage or something like that. Basically to take care of the dogs. Are you a Scientologist? No, I'm an atheist. So, yeah, that kind of explains the phone theory. So, I don't know if I assume there was nothing else on the phone, so. Have you heard the voice recording of him talking to his son? I assume you mean the voicemails. He left voicemails to Daniel. I don't know how far between. I think it was pretty close, though. Maybe a few days before. How old are you, and when did you start watching wrestling? I'm 23, and I started when I was very young. Kind of got out of it a little bit, and then I got back into it right around 2007. So, yeah. I was around for the Invasion, Ruthless Aggression era, and then kind of took a sabbatical, I guess. I don't know what you want to call it, but, yeah. And then I stopped watching in 2010 because I couldn't handle it anymore, and then started back up in 2011. Something else I do want to get into. Do you think on the tribute show they knew, or someone knew? William Regal knew. He had a hunch. A lot of them did have a hunch, but they didn't know for sure. If you watch William Regal's testimony on the Benoit tribute show that Monday, he said he doesn't want to talk about Chris Benoit as a person. Instead, he talked about him as a professional, which I think is very interesting. You could tell he knew something. Okay. Would you have liked to see Benoit versus Jack Swagger? I mean, I think it would have been a decent match. Did they ever do an autopsy on Chris and Nancy? They did it on Chris. I don't know if Nancy's was public, but Chris, they did an autopsy, yeah, and that's how they found out about his heart, and they found out about the alcohol that wasn't in his system that they expected to be in his system, because there were beer cans surrounding his body, basically. And something else pretty interesting is he put Bibles next to Nancy and Daniel's body, and I believe he put one on beside his own as well. So that's another very interesting fact. There's a lot to this. There really is. That's why I wanted to come on here and discuss this, because there's so much to it. Why did they remove the tribute show off the network? Same reason they removed all his footage and don't mention his name. TN Couponer, what's up? Watching on your break. Spider Hunter, he left a note for his first wife. Don't think I've heard that one. What did the note say? Because he had a previous wife who he had, I think, 2 kids with. 2 or 3. I know Megan Benoit and David Benoit are his son and daughter. Okay. Young Breezy, I think he feared going to hell. That's why he put the Bibles. I mean, that, from his standpoint, that might make sense. And something else really interesting is one of the people, I think it was one of the secretaries that worked at Titan Towers, which is WWE headquarters, had came out and said that after Nancy and Daniel were already dead, he was still trying to make the Night of Champions pay-per-view. I think that's one of the most chilling facts for me. He was still trying to make the pay-per-view. Just imagine if he actually would have went to the pay-per-view. Just imagine that. He already killed his wife and son. it's just one of those things. I think that's chilling. Like he was trying to reschedule flights so he could make it to Night of Champions still, or Vengeance, Night of Champions. Yeah, David Benoit was supposed to sign with WWE, but from what I hear, Vince didn't want the affiliation, so which sucks. I know Chris Jericho was really pulling for David Benoit. Okay, Regal knew something. Yeah, Regal knew something for sure. He knew. I don't know. I'm not gonna say he knew the facts, but you could tell he had an idea of what happened. Meep God, was he killed? I lean towards no, but at the same time, there are a lot of puzzling facts about this that can't be ignored. Would David Benoit wrestle in AEW? I would love to see that, actually. I really would. I wish David would be successful in the wrestling industry. I think that'd be awesome. I still believe a great conspiracy theory person can figure out what really happened. I myself am a huge conspiracy person. I've studied this thing for 12 years now. And it's just amazing how little we still know. You know, there's a great wrestling pundit podcast too. That's probably the best. If you're leaning more towards the conspiracy side of this, Wrestling Pundit did a really good, like, 4 or 5 part documentary on it. I think it adds up to about an hour. They did a really good job with that one. Okay. Spider Hunter, the note to his first wife, it was found in a Bible which was sent to her family. When she received the possessions he left for them, it was saying, "I'm preparing to leave this earth." Okay, that's interesting. I actually don't think I ever heard that. What happened to the location that all of this occurred in? Well, it happened in his house, and it has new owners now. I actually would love to visit the house sometime. I plan to at one point, for sure. Do you prefer your Benoit autograph or your Vince McMahon WrestleMania Anthology? I think the Benoit autograph, because of the aura that it has and the meaning it has to it. You know, my WrestleMania Anthology will always be the centerpiece in my collection, but the Benoit autograph, I think it's just more powerful and meaningful. Tian Couponer, if he did it because he had too many concussions, because his brain was like a 70-year-old with Alzheimer's. Yeah, that's another thing they found in the autopsy. He had, I don't know how many concussions he had in his career. I think it's too many to count at this point. But, you know, they say 3 or more concussions, that's when it really starts to affect your brain. My girlfriend had 1 concussion in her life, and she still has some problems from it. So, yeah, concussions, you don't fuck around with those. Tian Couponer, going back to work, take care. You too, try to have fun at work. I know it's tough, but yeah. If he was still alive, who do you think he would feud with? I think Taker, he could have. Obviously CM Punk. A lot of the ECW guys there. Maybe like Kevin Thorne or Elijah Burke. A lot of those lesser known ECW guys in 2007. So, who knows? I wonder if there's any paranormal activity in the house. I mean, there's no reports of it, but you never know. There could be some residual activity there. Who knows? Like I said, though, I'd love to visit there. Was he your favorite Radical? Chris Benoit is one of my top 3 favorite wrestlers of all time, period. So he beats so many in terms of just, you know, my favorites. Who would have won if CM Punk and Benoit wrestled Night of Champions? Benoit was scheduled to win the title, and he was basically going to carry the brand of ECW. But yeah, he was confirmed to win he was going to win the title. But then, of course, Johnny Nitro got involved, and CM Punk and Nitro feuded, so. I bet Vince regrets pushing Benoit with the Rumble and Mania. That's interesting. I think it's a question he'd never answer because Vince probably doesn't regret anything. But, looking back, it's a lot more work having to cut out Rumble and WrestleMania footage everywhere you go now. Okay, rumor has it Tyler Hadley maybe met Chris Benoit, the kid who killed his parents with a hammer just to have a party. If you heard of that situation. Yeah, I remember that situation. He might have met Benoit, I don't know. Machine 473, what's your favorite Benoit match? Kurt Angle, Rumble 2003, for sure. Has wrestling ever made me cry? I don't believe so. I don't think I have, no. Okay, I did shed a tear when Roddy Piper died. So, I mean, that doesn't really count, but it still kind of counts. So, Roddy Piper is one of my all-time favorites. So, yeah, I mean, I shed a tear for that. Some of the tribute packages and everything. Okay, what was your favorite Benoit attire? Early 2000s. Okay. I cried at the end of WrestleMania 33. With WrestleMania 33, I would have cried if I wasn't pissed off. Because that match pissed me off, Undertaker and Roman. And it was a bad match. So, I mean, And I also didn't believe that it was the end for Taker. I'll believe it when I actually see it, Why doesn't Vince do interviews nowadays? He never really did much when it comes to interviews anyway. He's not the Mr. McMahon heel character anymore, so he really doesn't need to. Ever watch Zeitgeist, the movie? I have not. I'll be sure to research that one, though. So, yeah, like I said, drop a like if you guys are enjoying this stream. If you want to see more of these, because I usually don't do live streams, but if you want to see more streams, definitely let me know. It's chilling to think about how different WWE would have been. Probably we wouldn't have gotten a PG era, and Vince would be dead, therefore the pipe bomb would never have happened. I think they would have been PG eventually, just not in 2008. Hatfish asks, what happened to the Chris Benoit movie? As far as I know, it's not happening now. I know Liev Schreiber was supposed to play Chris Benoit. So that would have been cool. I would have loved to have seen... It was called The Crippler, I believe was the working title. So that would have been cool. But as far as I know, it's not happening now, so... Yeah, Chris Benoit was supposed to get a biopic, not affiliated with the WWE, obviously. It was basically a production, like a studio-made film. And Liev Schreiber was supposed to play Chris Benoit, and then you would have people play Vince and other wrestlers, kind of a lot like The Wrestler, which is a phenomenal film of its own. And I guess it would have shown his life, and I don't know if it was going to show his death and everything, but that's kind of, I don't know what they would have done with that. Benoit versus Rollins, Benoit versus AJ Styles. Yeah, both of them would have been phenomenal. I would love to see Benoit and AJ Styles. I really would. And Bryan Danielson. Daniel Bryan, whatever. Oh, God. But yeah, as far as I know, that movie is not being made now, which is unfortunate. Do you think WWE would be different if Chris and Eddie were still alive today? Yeah, I think it'd be a lot different in terms of content, in terms of quality. I think we would have seen a dip regardless. Did you think Carlos Colon had something to do with Bruiser Brody's death? Yeah, for sure. He didn't obviously kill him, but he knew something was going on. He could have done something about it if he really wanted to. Have any other promotions mentioned Benoit? I think New Japan does. Everyone, they've showed matches of him before after his death. So I know New Japan does. Everyone else, I'm not sure. How many wrestlers did you meet? I've met Jeff Hardy, Jake Roberts. I'm not really one for meet and greets, to be honest. I'll be meeting Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, though, in a few months. That's one I'll definitely go to. I met Snitsky, Matt Hardy. You know, I've met a good number. Today marks the 10-year anniversary of Michael Jackson's death. Yeah, and then yesterday was 12 years of Benoit. So I forgot they were so close, but yeah. Probably should have done the stream yesterday, but oh well, whatever. Doesn't Benoit have a son who wrestles? I don't know if he wrestles anymore, but he was supposed to sign with WWE, and that never happened. Meep got 11 years. Today's the 12-year anniversary. Yeah, today's the 12-year anniversary, because it was 2007. If he had ended Taker's streak, would it be mentioned? I don't think he would have ever ended the streak. I don't even think that's a possibility. I don't think he'd be mentioned no matter what he did. You know, he could have, I don't know, he could have been the longest reigning champion in history, and they still would have cut him out to some degree. So, there we go. Do you think Macho Man went bang bang poontang with Stephanie McMahon? I think so, yeah. Personally, I don't think it was fair to David Benoit that he couldn't get signed. Yeah, I was pissed off about that. Just because of your father being Chris Benoit doesn't mean that should affect your career. That one's on Vince to me. He was supposed to sign. Chris Jericho always really pushed for David Benoit. And it's just a giant fuck you that you can't sign him just because he's Chris Benoit's son. Like, yeah, I understand why, but still, that's bullshit. Juno 2000. Yesterday was my birthday. I rewatched Chris Benoit versus Edge in a Last Man Standing match. That's a really good match. They can never show his match with Randy Orton at SummerSlam 2004. Yeah, if you ever watch any like footage of Randy Orton winning his first world title, it's never the match. It's always just the celebration of him kissing the title with the celebration in the background. Oh, this is a good one. This could be a video of its own. What would have been the Vince storyline when he died? How it goes was they were going to involve Vince McMahon's brother, Roderick McMahon, which a lot of people don't even know he has a brother named Roderick McMahon. I think the big payoff would have been Linda McMahon trying to kill Vince. Well, he already died, technically, in the story, but yeah, they would have involved the McMahon family and have it kind of been a McMahon family inside job. Do you think Vince would be upset with the crowd starting chanting for Chris Benoit? I think we did get Benoit chants before. If I remember correctly, there have been a few occasions. Okay. I am reading every comment, by the way, so I just more answer the questions. But I have my laptop here with the stream on it, so thinking one step ahead. Okay. Let's see. Would you want Punk or Benoit to return? I mean, they're two of my favorites, so obviously it'd be great to see him return, but one's dead and one's probably never coming back to WWE, so. How do you feel about The Undertaker returning last night? It's desperation for ratings, that's all it is. It's to me, it's just pathetic. Do you think Benoit had a great DVD in 2004? Hard Knocks, which is right there, is a phenomenal set. Great documentary. Do you think he would have been inducted if not for the murder? Yes, for sure. Sooner rather than later. Do you think Benoit is in heaven or hell? I'm an atheist, so if you want to go figuratively or philosophically, go ahead. Do you like WrestleMania 34? I mean, I have some attachment to it because I was there, but as an event, I think it's very average. At the end of the day, he gave his heart for the business. Yeah, he did. There's actually a really good kind of analogy because how Benoit died is he put a towel around his neck and basically crushed his neck with a weight set, which is another big conspiracy piece of evidence because they said only a superhuman could have lifted that much weight because the amount of weight that he had dropped on his neck was like superhuman. So that's a big theory. So, and they actually found internet searching, like in his internet history on how to break a neck. So that's also a very interesting little known fact. And this was done like right before he died. Okay, WrestleMania 34 or 35? I didn't like 35, so I gotta pick 34. Did you watch the tribute show in 2007? Yeah, I watched it live. And I had no idea, because I wasn't really on the internet much back then. Green Turtle Gaming. What other theories have you heard? I mean, there's a lot. I mean, people in the comments down below, if you have any, feel free. But, I think I covered a lot of them, to be honest. I mean, I didn't really cover the Kevin Sullivan one very much. I guess we can do that quick. But the Kevin Sullivan theory is obviously Kevin Sullivan was married to Nancy Benoit, and he booked Chris and Nancy to have an affair, and it actually happened. So it's literally art or life imitating art. So that actually happened, and then obviously she divorced Kevin Sullivan, married Chris, and so the big thing is, in 2007, which would have been the 10-year anniversary of the divorce, a lot of people say that Kevin Sullivan killed Chris for stealing Nancy away from him. My only problem with that is, why would you kill the kid? Why would you kill Daniel? I just don't see a reason why Kevin Sullivan... And there's also the theory that he's a Satanist. But even if he is a Satanist, the Satan Bible tells you you're not allowed to harm children. So I think that kind of debunks itself. So me personally, I don't believe Kevin Sullivan killed him. I think if someone else did kill him, though, we just don't know who it is. Hub City Finest. Okay. Do you still believe WWE would still mention Benoit if he died in a hotel room like Brian Pillman? Yeah, the only reason they don't mention him is because of the circumstances. Who do you think could have killed him? Yeah, there's a lot of... yes, there is a satanic Bible. It's not actually... It's more of a symbol and philosophy of Satan. Not actually a... It's not... There's a difference between Satanists and Satan worshippers. Satan worshippers worship Satan. The satanic Bible just worships the idealistics of Satan. And they're actually a colorful atheism. So, will WWE stop doing PG? No. Not unless they're really fucking desperate. And they really can't, even if they wanted to now. Have you ever read the Satanic Bible? I've read bits and pieces. More of the philosophical aspects. Because I'm just a very philosophical person, in general. So... yeah. Obviously, I don't really believe in... I'm an atheist, so... But there's some good life lessons in it, if you want to. It has a bad reputation, so, even though it's not really all that bad, so. Okay. Will there ever be a sequel to the Bible? Well, technically the Bible is a sequel, but whatever. Do you believe in extraterrestrial life? I think you kind of have to. If not, you're just ignorant to believe that we're the only ones here. In an ever-expanding 10 trillion light-year universe that's... I mean, our planet's 4 billion years old, so... There's a lot of history. Okay, did you see the Child's Play 2019 remake? Yeah, it was alright. I did see it, though. Will WWE ever open the case? I don't think they have nothing to do with the case. But when it comes to, like, Atlanta, you know, whoever dealt with, because they lived in Georgia, so whoever dealt with the case there, I mean, it never really, well, yeah, AJ Styles, it never really got that great of an investigation anyway. But I don't think they'll ever reopen it unless you have a reason to. Okay. How do you rate the Twist of Fate Hardy Boys DVD? I'd give that one a very high rating. That's a very good DVD. But one more thing I did think of is the podcast that Nancy's sister did. She had mentioned that Chris Benoit had been insanely paranoid the last few months of his life. He would never take the same route home. He'd go to the same gym, but he'd take a different way there. He was always very paranoid. You know, obviously he moved his family to this house that's very secluded. He didn't tell barely any of his friends about where he lived. He actually requested Chavo, who had been to his house, to not ever tell anyone where he lived. So he had very acute paranoia before his death, which is very interesting. Who would have won, Sting or Benoit? Depends on the booking. I mean, the way I look at it, I don't really like answering who would have won because it depends on what makes sense for the story and the booking. When Vince dies, do you think WWE would be better? Yes. Yeah, Chris Jericho had never seen his house, so, which is very, because he even told Chavo, they did a very good podcast together too. He even told Chavo he had no idea where Chris even lived. He had never been there. So the final moments and months of his life, you know, he had been really paranoid. And if you've ever heard the Hardcore Holly, I'm not the biggest Hardcore Holly fan, trust me, but he gave a very interesting story that he was actually supposed to have lunch with Chris. I think that the afternoon that Nancy died in the evening around 8 p.m. Or I think it was anywhere from 8 p.m. to 1 a.m., I think is the timetable they gave. That afternoon, Hardcore Holly was supposed to, or Bob Holly, was supposed to meet with Chris. So it's crazy to think, maybe if Bob Holly would have met with Chris that day like he was supposed to, things might not have happened the way it did. And he had said that Chris had called him, you know, wanting to have lunch with him and almost yelling at him for not going and canceling on him. So that's interesting. Hours before Nancy died, Bob Holly was supposed to be with Chris. If AEW releases their pay-per-view DVDs, will you collect them? They are releasing them, and yes, I do plan on collecting them and making videos for them. Was he found dead in his wrestling attire? No. No. And the whole thing about him killing Daniel with the crossface, that's false. I hate that. I really hate that idea, that rumor. That's not true. He suffocated. He basically suffocated him with a pillow. Yeah, there was that rumor going around that he killed Daniel with the crippler crossface. That's just stupid. That's impossible, first of all. He's a kid. You can't lock the arm and... That's just... Yeah, I hate that rumor. Do you think Vince will ever retire anytime soon? he will not retire until he's dead. I think a lot of people can attest to that. I firmly believe that. Do you think Vince McMahon will die anytime soon? There's no way of predicting that. The amount of steroids he's done, I'm surprised he's still alive, but hey. I don't hate Vince McMahon, I really don't. I admire him. I just think he needs to step the hell down, like, immediately, but he won't, so whatever. Do you have the Zack Ryder DVD? No. That's one of the few that I don't. I forget what they're called. They're the collection one-disc sets. Why did Benoit keep kicking people out of the locker room? Benoit was very heavy on respect. He obviously highly respected the business. And if he disrespected that, he took offense to that. So, and, there was always that other story that Chris Jericho told where he oversold a move that he shouldn't have, and he punished himself for it. He did like 500 squats to punish himself. And there was another story. I know The Miz got kicked out of the locker room because he got chicken in somebody's bag. Chris Benoit was the one that kicked him out and made an example out of him. And he made examples out of a lot of people, but he didn't do it in like a threatening way. He did it to make an example, to respect the business. Did you hear about Benoit flipping out on The Miz? Yeah. He basically made The Miz change in a bathroom for 6 months. Or outside, wherever. Outside the locker room. Do you think EC3 deserves better? Yeah, I do. I actually met EC3 and talked to him for a few hours one time. He was actually doing a signing where I did work at the time. And he was really cool to talk to. Miz was around in 2007. Yeah, he was around in 2005. He started out as the host of the Raw Divas Search. Okay. It's sad because he was a top dog on Impact. Yeah, he was. EC3 is great, yeah. But yeah, he is 24/7 champion. I think he's still... I don't know if he still has it or not. I don't know. I don't really follow that title very much. Okay. Did Tommy Cruz come out of the closet? I don't know who Tommy Cruz is. That sounds familiar. He's probably an indie wrestler or something. I don't know. Okay, EC3 is not champion. Okay. My bad. When do you think Brock Lesnar will cash in? I think SummerSlam... Oh, you mean Tom Cruise? Yeah, you said Tommy Cruise. Okay, Tom Cruise. To this day, he never came out of the closet. Yeah, I remember that episode now. Yeah, Season 9, episode... I don't know the episode number, but it was Season 9, I know that. Okay, so... I mean, if you have any other theories... I think I pretty much covered a lot of everything here. I mean, I'm trying to think of any other theories or topics. I mean, when it comes down to it, like I said, I lean more towards that he's guilty, but I don't fully subscribe to that theory. Did the ending of Money in the Bank 2019 make you mad? Everything WWE does nowadays pretty much just pisses me off. So, I mean, I don't hate Brock Lesnar, but I just think you could have given it to Andrade or Ali or somebody, you know, but whatever. Survivor Series 2015 was supposed to be a massacre, but nothing happened. I remember that. Do you have any video game consoles? I have a PS2. I'm not a big gamer. I prefer more Nintendo, like NES, like old school games. I grew up playing like NES and N64, even the first PlayStation. Okay. Did he perform at a live event after the ECW taping? Oh, God. I don't think he did. Because he no-showed the live event he was supposed to be at in Corpus Christi, Texas, I believe. Or no, Corpus Christi was where the Raw tribute show took place. So I don't know if he had a live event after. I don't think he did because I think he went home because he was home all weekend. So Brady TV, can't believe it's been 12 years. Yeah, I remember that day like it was yesterday, to be honest. I really do. I watched it live. So yeah. Now, have you ever played GTA or Red Dead Redemption? Red Dead Redemption, no. GTA, yes. I played a lot of them. I used to have an Xbox 360, and then it got red ring, and I never got a new one. So, yeah, that was years ago, though. So, yeah, I think I'm about to wrap up the stream. We've been going for 71 minutes. You know, I love doing this, and, you know, I'll definitely do more of these. But one last time, you know, if you have any more thoughts on Benoit, obviously go ahead. And if you think he was innocent or guilty. And thank you for the super chat. We had one of those tonight, so thank you for that. I'm getting a lot of questions rolling in here. Do you respect Stone Cold Steve Austin more than other legends because he never broke his retirement? Yeah. I really do. Lee Trotter, Benoit is a piece of shit. Terrence Riley, have a good day. Love your videos. Thank you for watching. JJX Division, Benoit is a god. And my laptop died, so that's nice. We'll just be going off the phone now. Okay. So, let me see if I can bring the chat up on here. No. Okay, so, do you think it would be cool if The Miz and EC3 had a war of words? That'd be actually a pretty cool rivalry. Would you ever wrestle? No, I would not. I want to be a filmmaker, not a wrestler. Which WWE star is the best DVD treatment? I think Undertaker has a really good history with DVDs. John Cena has a really good history. How would people react if the murder was today? I think people would... That's an interesting question. I think people would react a lot worse because the world gets more offended by everything nowadays. So, I think it'd be a lot worse, actually. Because now that we have, like, more heightened social media, information would be spewing about everywhere. So, yeah, I think it would be a lot worse if it happened. I think more blame would go to the company, if anything. Do you think AJ Lee is returning? No. She has no reason to. She wrote a book and, you know, she's doing fine. Alright, I'll finally answer this question, then I'm going to end the stream. Was 9/11 an inside job? Yes. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Definitely drop a like if you enjoyed this. And, you know, I'll start doing more live streams like this for sure. So, take a few more comments here. And the comments are harder to read now because I don't have my laptop. So once they're gone, unfortunately for me. Do more live streams. Yeah, I definitely will. I'll probably do a live Q&A once I hit 4,000 subscribers, which will probably be soon, so. Okay, so, will you save this live? Yeah, this live stream will be posted if you want to revisit it. Same with the last one I did 2 days ago. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this discussion. I definitely did. So, for now, this has been the DVD Freak. Peace out.